I thought Battlefield 6 was going to be grounded. And if we're having an ability that allows us to see through walls, what's grounded about that? Yo, what's happening, y'all? I am bringing y'all something a little bit different today. We are going to be talking about the Battlefield 6 Beta. I was able to get my hands on it. I was able to play for mostly Saturday. Unfortunately, I did not get to play mostly Sunday. I was able to record some footage here, and I'll be able to bring that to you guys today. So yeah, we're going to be talking about Battlefield 6, the beta. Is this the Battlefield that we've all been waiting for? Is this the game that's finally going to bring back Battlefield to its glorious days, as we all know, right? A little bit about myself. I did play a lot of Battlefield. A good friend of mine actually introduced me to Battlefield. I played a lot of Call of Duty, and when he introduced me to Battlefield 3, that's when I realized, like, yo, this is actually, I think this is what I've been looking for in a shooter. Destruction, vehicles, everything that you could ask for within a shooter game. Battlefield delivered that for me in Battlefield 3. Then I moved on to Battlefield 4. But then unfortunately, I think 2042, and I think the one before that, a few of them before that, just kind of fell off for me, you know, and I kind of stopped playing after a while. So with Battlefield 6 now kind of being back, right, and with this beta going on, I want to talk about, is this the game that we've been waiting for, right? So starting off with the pros, I want to get right into it. The game feels really good. The game feels really fluid. For a beta, it ran really, really smooth. I was very, very surprised. The weapons felt really, really tuned. I didn't really have any issues with certain weapons. I know some people were complaining about the shotguns. I really didn't have a chance to experiment with that, and with people who were using shotguns, I often kind of strayed away from making sure that I wasn't in close quarters, right? So a lot of the times I kind of just implemented counterplay when it came to the shotguns. But when I did use the shotguns, man, they hit hard. They hit hard, and they hit kind of far. Nothing too crazy. I did notice it trickles down kind of fast after like 10 meters or so. It depends on the modifications you have, right? But other than that, I would like to see maybe, I don't know if the shotguns need to be tuned, right? I like how they are with the way that they're used in close quarters, all right? So, because I don't want a situation where you're using a shotgun. I don't know if you guys remember Battlefield 4, at least with me, shotguns would feel like they just are like little pellets that just kind of shrub off their shoulders even at certain range. Or if you get like half the reticle on the body, it still won't count, right? You won't get that kill. So I see maybe there's gonna be some balance changes. As we all know, certain things are really buffed, really, really strong in betas, so that when the actual game comes out, we could see those reworks and we could feel those changes, right? One thing I do want to mention here, since I am talking about weapons, I don't know if this is an issue, but there seemed to be a problem where if you're using the light machine gun in your support, right? So you have your ammo and everything like that. If your support, or if you're using a light machine gun in general, you have 100, you have 100 bullets in a mag, and it seemed that the game only had a maximum cap of 100 bullets for your gun. So a lot of times I only had 100 bullets, and I actually could not actually refill my ammo even if I used half the mag. I would have 50 bullets in a mag, and I could not reload. I could not get ammo. It wasn't until I had to deplete maybe 20 or 30 more bullets, then I was able to get ammo. And that was pretty consistent, surprisingly so. I don't know if that's a bug, but I would really, really like to see that fixed, right? What I do love, though, is as well as there's a lot of quality of life features, right? The class customization feels really, really deep, layered, and fresh. They introduced what's called like this, or I don't know what it's called, but it's more of like a point system now. And what this point system is, certain weapons have a certain amount of points, and depending on which attachments you get, they take up a certain amount of points. So think of like the Call of Duty, class system, where you have 10 slots, 10 things, and you could do whatever you want as long as you had those 10 slots, right? So they have something like that for a lot of these weapons here. One thing I've noticed is when you do use a weapon for the very first time, it is atrocious. Like, the handling is awful. It wants to kick everywhere, and I've noticed that for a lot of weapons, right? And you have to just really, really bear through that. The first initial mark of getting those attachments, then that weapon feels a little bit better. But I did notice that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought it was my aim, I thought maybe it was my settings. No, it was just the gun, because when I put a grip on that gun, it felt fine. So I found it very, very interesting, the drastic change of when you need a grip for a gun. And I'm a little bit worried that that's not gonna allow a more creative class systems, a lot of creative customizations, because then it's like I'm always gonna need a grip. I'm always gonna need this certain attachment, right? So again, that's more speculation. I'm not too sure, but I did notice that with a lot of the weapons that you first use for the very first time, right? As well, with every good Battlefield game, there is a high emphasis of teamwork, right? The teamwork is there. I was getting revived constantly. It was maybe once in a blue moon, maybe one match, two matches where it was a little bit odd, where I'm like, why am I not getting any revives, right? At first, I thought it was because maybe you can't get a revive, but it seems that as long as, if you're looking at the screen here around this area, as long as you're actually you can drag your teammate to a safe place, you should be good. I've revived people, I believe, as a scout. I revived people as many other classes, so that shouldn't be an issue there. I do appreciate that. It should be more easier on tickets. You shouldn't have a situation where everyone's an engineer or a recon or a support and your squad simply just can't get revives, right? So I did notice that there. I did feel really, it did feel really, really good when it came to the teamwork there. And I was really happy to see that. So you're not going to have any big Call of Duty plays where people are just going to go ahead and just run and gun by themselves. And the thing is too, is that if that does happen, you know it. You can see it, you can see from the other players, and it affects your team. It really, really does. So I noticed a lot of people, at least in my time playing this game, didn't play like that. There was a lot of moments where I was standing behind a wall of my squad for 5 minutes because there was just that much suppressing fire, and we had to wait until there was a hole in that suppressing fire to advance. And I think that's where Battlefield shines, right? That crazy gameplay. You're just hearing bullets flying all over the place. You can't move. Your squad is there. They're reviving you. They're supplying you. And there's just bullets flying. It feels like you went through 10 mags and you have not moved an inch. That is Battlefield, right? On top of the vehicles and the, our air support that you guys are having on top of all of that, right? So that was there. I did see it. It was great, man. I had such a great time there. And as well, talking about the connection, servers were really stable. I did not have any issues with servers crashing, connection, nothing like that at all. And one thing too is that when you look in the scoreboard will tell you who is having issues. So yeah, Battlefield does snitch on some connections there. But even if there are some issues with network, I notice even then it doesn't directly affect me. So it seemed like they did really, really good in the server testing, and it really excelled. And I did appreciate that, and it was really, really smooth overall, and I did not have any big issues. Even with playing with friends, when I did get to play with friends, no issues matchmaking, no issues staying in a squad. And this was a crossplay too. My friend was on PlayStation 5, and I'm playing on PC. So, and there was no issues there, and I really, really enjoyed that. As far as my PC goes, if you guys are curious, I am playing on a RTX 3070. I have actually 32 gigs of RAM. I actually upgraded that. I used to have 16 gigs of RAM, and I can't lie, if I didn't upgrade that, I probably wouldn't be running this game as smooth as I did today. As far as that goes, I do have an Intel i7 cores, 12th gen, and so on too. So, and 1 terabyte SSD. So, and the game was able to run really, really smooth for my setup. I was able to feel my 3070 starting to pull a little bit hard in certain graphics, and I can't lie, I think I was able to play on just high performance graphics or medium quality graphics, one of the two. But even then, the game looked really, really good. And at that point, I'm not playing Expedition 33 where I need 4K graphics and I need, on top of that 120 frames of ray tracing, nothing like that. This game was still able to operate as it was, and on the smaller maps and the maps that weren't so physically demanding, the game ran even better on much more higher graphics. So the game looked great, even with all this chaos, with the amount of players, the destruction. I was very, very concerned that the destruction of the game was going to cause stutters, was going to cause the game to slow down. I did not get anything like that whatsoever. So again, the game runs very, very smoothly. But as far as now talking about the cons, right? What didn't I like about Battlefield 6? And there was a couple things I actually didn't like, and I feel like they need to rework, tune, or I think they maybe go back to the drawing board with some of the things. So I did mention the light machine gun bug. I don't know if that is a bug, but that seems to be a bug. As well, I am not too sure how I feel about the unrestricted weapon classes. I really don't know how I feel about that, because here's the thing about this. Right? On one hand, you won't have engineers in close quarters maps like I used to experience in Operation Metro, running around simply because it has a submachine gun or it has a very particular weapon, right? You know, I could understand if that's what they're trying to, that's their goal, is that there's more freedom and player choice in how you run around the map and how you engage your opponents. However, I also feel like you lose your class individuality and what makes your class shine within a game, right? So I don't know now if you're gonna have 4 supports, 4 medics, 4 assaults, all with the same, you know, submachine gun or the same light machine gun with the same crazy attachments, right? Simply because it's unrestricted. Now, they do have the option where you can play unrestricted class systems in certain game modes. I do appreciate that. We're just gonna see how well it shines, right? We're gonna see, is there gonna be a big player base in unrestricted weapons? I did notice I had a little bit of freedom with using whatever weapon I want. That was nice, but then like I said, I felt like I lost the individuality and what made my class shine, right? I had no need to specialize in a support. I had no need to specialize in assault, right? Because support did it all. Assault does it all, right? Support does it all, assault does it all, recon does it all, and I don't know how I really feel about that. Now, I didn't really see recons running around with sniper or like with assault rifles or anything like that. I didn't see that. However, you know, the concern is there. The concern is there, and I'm not too sure how I feel about that. I think time, unfortunately, will tell over time, right? Now, another big thing, this is a big pet peeve of mine. This was surprisingly a big pet peeve of mine where I was like, it just left a really bad taste in my mouth. I was like, ugh, I don't know, I don't like that. There is an ability, I think that it's the support class, where after you reach, and I believe you're gonna see it here, if you're looking at the screen right now, it looks like the little eye and the little pyramid, sort of. That ability, if that's the ability I think it is, that ability allows you for a short period of time, if your squad level reaches the max squad level, you can see through walls. And again, I can't remember the specific requirements and the conditions of what it does, but all I can say is once I use the ability, it's a stim, you go ahead and you use it on yourself. I was able to see through walls, and I was able to just go ahead and laser. It felt like aim hacks. It felt like I did not like that. And to my understanding, I thought Battlefield 6 was going to be grounded. And if we're having an ability that allows us to see through walls, what's grounded about that? It's a very, very interesting mechanic, and I would not be surprised over time that is the only special ability you're gonna see within that squad ability, right? Because that was very, very overpowered. As soon as I was in a bad situation, I was able to pop that stim, hide behind a wall. I saw everyone, and I was able to get a lot more kills after that. And I'm not too sure if that's a big. I don't like it. Put it like this. I just don't like it, right? So that was a big pet peeve of mine. I did not like that, and I actually elected to just not use it after a while, unfortunately, right? So besides that, moving on from that, I did feel like there was a lack of vehicles. I know that was a concern of mine. I did not see a lot of vehicle play, unfortunately. Even in Conquest, Breakthrough, again, I believe is a smaller scale. There was only one tank in this map, so again, I did not see much there. So hopefully there's going to be a lot more maps. I think maybe it's because of the fact that we only have 2 maps, right? So maybe we haven't got gotten the maps that are going to be more vehicle oriented, right? So I'm holding out more hope. If I'm not a big vehicle person, unfortunately, but when I was using vehicles, I did love jets, and I did love the scout helicopters, and I put in a lot of work in that. So I would like to see a more emphasis on that. I really don't think I even saw a helicopter. I don't think I did. So, and the last big thing I want to talk about is the slide. The slide needs a rework, in my opinion. The slide needs some sort of tuning, some sort of rethinking. It needs to go back to the drawing board, because after I got used to the slide, there was no reason why I was able to pop shots like I was playing Destiny Trials of Osiris, or Trials of the Nine, I think it's called now. Okay, and if you're not aware of pop shotting in Destiny, what you can do basically is if you sprint, if you're at a corner, right? So let's say if you're looking at the camera, the wall's right here and the cover's here, and then there's a sniper down this alley, right? If you run and slide, you could slide while aiming at the whoever you're trying to pop shot, right? And it's like, I was able to do that. Again, I don't feel like that's grounded. I feel like the slide can be there. The slide, it can be there. It could stay, but there needs to be a severe aim penalty. I think the philosophy behind the slide is I need to get to cover quickly. I need to get down quickly, but I still need to get to where I need to go, right? Like the whole philosophy is just it's to get out of a situation quick. You know, it's not a situation where I'm gonna use slide so I can get the edge on my opponent because I'm sliding around like I'm on ice and my opponent has no idea because somehow I slid right past him, you know? I mean, you're on cement, you're on gravel, as you can see here. You're on some crazy terrain. You should not be able to slide 5 feet. If anything, it needs to be like a foot or 2, you know, or maybe 3 at most. And it should be, once you slide in the direction, you should commit to that direction. You can only aim in that direction, and when you do stop sliding, then you can start aiming. What I would love to see is maybe you can stop the slide earlier, right? Not a slide cancel. We're not talking about Call of Duty slide cancel, but just all you're doing is decreasing the distance of your slide. That's all it is. And then maybe you can go ahead and ready up your weapon a little bit faster. But it shouldn't be something to the point where you are, you know, you're basically playing like Gears of War or the latest Call of Duty. It should not be like that, okay? So, other than that though, the summary of the Battlefield 6 beta is it plays great, it feels good, and they're cooking with this game. So I'm excited to see what else Battlefield has up their sleeve. If you aren't aware, there's going to be another chance to play the beta next weekend. So keep your eyes on for that. Preload it if you can. If you are worried about the secure boot, it is not that bad. I did it on my PC. My PC is fine, but again, I think that's because of the setup. It all depends on your motherboard, I believe, your BIOS configuration. There's a lot of things like that as to take into consideration, so I am keeping that in mind. However, other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this feedback of the beta. I cannot wait to play more. I'm going to be playing a lot more this weekend, and maybe I will see you guys on the Battlefield. Oh my god, I said it. But other than that, y'all take care. I'll see y'all around. Peace.